We're going to talk about vocabulary that we come across. And I'd also like you to consider what we discussed last week when we discussed the mood, how the story makes you feel. Okay, the author creates the tone, which gives us the mood of the feelings that we get from this chapter. It's a quick, short chapter. We have our dry erase pens.
Yes.
Our dry erase boards, and our book, and we are open to page
24.
24. Go ahead and go back to page 24. You have that? Okay. All right. Jeff Fishkin was hopelessly lost. He clutched his hall pass as he looked down the long, empty corridor. The school seemed so big to him. Can you give me a synonym, please, for clutched?
Clamp.
If you're not sure, write it down. But if you're not sure, go back and what can you do?
Read over the sentence.
Reread the text. So that word clutched. Okay, that works. Keep working. Ooh, nice. Very good. Yep. Clutch. If you're not sure, let's go back and let's look at it. He was hopelessly lost. He clutched his hall pass as he looked down the long, empty corridor. Good. So can you picture the hall pass? Visualize. He has the permission to be out in the hall. How is he holding that hall pass? Good. No, that's good. That works, Presley. Good. Wait for a couple more. Once you have your synonym or your word or two to replace it, will you go back and reread the sentence and ask yourself, does that make sense? So you don't have one yet. He clutched it. Look at how I'm holding it. Clutching it. Go back and plug. It's okay. We don't have to spell it. Go back and plug in your synonym. Does that word or phrase that you chose make sense in that sentence? And that's how we know it's a good synonym. Did it make sense? No. So let's come up with it. Did you see the way I was holding it? He clutched his hall pass and looked down the long, empty. Okay, that'll work. And maybe even an adverb like tightly. Okay. Yes. So these are the synonyms I'm seeing. I think that's too quick when you snatch something that's taking it. So what about held tightly? Tight is good, but what about gripped or held tightly?
Squeezed.
Maybe good. Squeezed. Do you think he wants to drop that hall pass?
No.
So when we go down the hall, are we snatching it? Or are we holding on to it? You're holding on to it. You don't want to let it go. Like that football player, catching that pass and he's running for the touchdown. He's clutching onto that football. He does not want to let go. Right? Definitely not. Unless you're the Panthers playing the Patriots, then we want.
The Cowboys.
I can't believe they won on Sunday. Okay, so he clutched his hall pass as he looked down the empty corridor. The school seemed so big to him. He was on his way to see the new counselor. She was supposed to help him adjust to his new environment. Why is that in quotation marks? Why do you think? She was supposed to help him adjust to his new environment. Why do you think, Cameron? Okay. Why do you think?
Maybe to get used to he's been to that school before.
No, he just came there. Remember, he's a new student. This isn't Bradley. This is Jeff we're talking about.
Oh.
But it's adjust to his new environment in quotation marks. Kendall.
It's because he's new to that school and he doesn't really know where anything is.
Okay, but why would that particular phrase be in quotation marks? And why would the whole thing be in quotation marks? Tristan, what were you going to say?
I was going to say what they were saying, the counselor was trying to help him get used to something he's never experienced before.
Okay, and what do we know about quotation marks?
Someone's
saying it. So who do you think said that? He's kind of repeating Elaine.
What his mom said.
Maybe what his mom said?
Also,
Who else would have said it?
He
Brandon.
might have muttered that to himself.
Maybe he is muttering it to himself. Very good. Sometimes that's in italics also.
Yeah.
But I think more when you're talking about a phrase that's in quotation marks, you're quoting exactly what somebody has said. So who do you think would have said, does that sound like a kid phrase? Adjust to your new environment. Is that something Brianna would say?
No.
No. Is it something Sophie would say? Or it's more of adult talk, isn't it? Your mom may say this, or your teacher may say this. So, Lane, what are you thinking?
But I have a word for he could help adapt.
Right, that's a great synonym. But now we'll go back to why this would be in quotation marks. Raise your hand if you think maybe his teacher said this. Not half of you. How about if about his mom? That's what you're doing. Raise your hand if you think his mom said this. Raise your hand if you think the counselor said it. Do you think he's spoken with the counselor yet? We're doing all kinds of predicting here.
No.
Okay. All right. Well, let's find out. And it is because an adult said this to him. Now he not only didn't know how to get to her office, he had no idea how to get back to Mrs. Ebbels' class either. The floor was slippery. It had started raining during recess, and kids had tracked water and mud inside with them. Can you hear that? Can you see that?
Yeah.
What do kids always do when they get their feet slippery?
They track it in the house.
Yeah. They squeak it. They squeak
My
it.
mom
They
used
go
to do
down the
that.
hall. They squeak it. What is the mood right now? What are you feeling?
A little nervous.
Are you feeling nervous?
Anxious?
Are you feeling anxious?
Happy.
Are you Jeff? Are you the character in this book?
I just want to read.
You just want to read. You want me to quit talking about? Okay. All right. Let's keep going. So where do we go? Mud inside with them. In the middle of page 24. A teacher carrying a stack of papers stepped out of a door, and Jeff hurried up to her. Can you tell me where the counselor's office is, please? He asked. His voice trembled. The teacher first checked to make sure he had a hall pass. And then she said, the counselor's office. Let's see. You go down this hall to the end, turn right, and it's the third door on your left? Thank you very much, Jeff said, and he started to go. No, wait, said the teacher. That's not right. She's in the new office in the other wing. All right, so you're going to turn around and go back the other way you came, and then turn left at the end of the hall, and it's the second floor on the right.
Door.
Second door on the right, I'm sorry. So, how do you think he's feeling now?
Like he doesn't know where to go.
Confused.
Even
He's
more
lost.
confused. He's completely
He's
lost.
like lost.
Do you think the teacher that's giving him directions helped or made it worse?
Made it worse.
But she said it twice.
Yeah.
And she wasn't.
She was like, okay.
She was
back over
He was
herself.
probably thinking that he didn't know his way through, but then he probably thought that the teachers didn't know where to go either. And he's
Yeah.
like, well, what do I do?
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Jeff said again. So, top of page 25. Need everyone with me, please? Top of page 25. He walked to the end of the hall, turned right, counted to the second door on his left, and he pushed it open. A girl with red hair and freckled face was washing her hands at the sink.
There's a boy in it.
When she saw Jeff, her mouth dropped open. What are you doing in here? She asked. Huh? Jeff muttered. Get out of here! She yelled. This is the girls' bathroom! Jeff froze. He covered his face with his hands and then he dashed out the door. There's a boy in the girls' bathroom! The girl screamed after him. Can you feel his face? Like, do you feel the heat?
I thought Bradley
all
was
over
going
his
to go
body?
into his bathroom.
That's
Both do.
He raced down the hall. Suddenly his feet slipped out from under him. He waved his arms wildly as he tried to keep his balance. And then he flopped down on the floor.
Ow.
Can you picture that?
I can imagine being that girl.
Oh, no, he groaned. What have I done? Oh, why didn't I just read the sign on the door? This is the worst day of my whole life. Suddenly he realized he was no longer holding the hall pass. He stood up, frantically looked around. Don't tell me I dropped it in the girls' bathroom. He heard someone coming, and he hurried off in the opposite direction. He rounded the corner, then spotted what looked like some kind of storage room. It was cluttered with boxes. Yeah, good word. Hello, said a voice. He spun around. A woman stepped down off a yellow ladder. You must be Jeff, she said. I'm Carla Davis. She smiled and she held out her hand. I'm so glad you've come. I was afraid you might get lost.
In the girls' bathroom?
Okay.
No.
What?